Today is my birthday. And to be honest, it feels a little unreal to turn 31. But you know what's even crazier? To look back at 3 decades of my life and realizing how much lessons I learned about myself and how long it took to get here. Let me take you on a little journey about my biggest discoveries so far. If there is just one thing you remember about this video, let it be this: you don't have to have it all figured out. Life is about finding your own rhythm, embracing the mess, and learning along the way. To give you a little context, every year before my birthday, I write a letter to my future self. This is my way of reflecting what I'm proud of, what I wish for, and what I've learned over the last year. This year, it felt like a letter is not enough. I wanted something deeper. I wanted to go deeper. I don't want it just to reflect over the last year. I wanted to reflect over my entire life. What have I learned, and what of my lessons are maybe valuable for you? Here are my 10 biggest lessons I've learned over the last 3 decades. Before we dive in, let me introduce myself. Hi, I'm Christopher Schmidt, born in Berlin, and I'm an artist empowerment coach. My mission is to help artists like you to be themselves, to grow and to create without compromise. My mission is that you can live to your fullest potential and be happy. But before this chapter, I wore a lot of hats. I was a hip hop and breakdancer for 14 years. 7 of these years, I was a professional and earned my money with it. I danced probably in front of 100,000 people. One show alone was like 20,000 people in the Waldbühne, and I taught over 500 students to move their body. I've been a photographer for over a decade. I did everything from fashion to commercials to weddings to events to product photography. I had solo exhibitions in Berlin and still have some, and prints all over the world. I founded also 3 companies. One production company for events and commercials called Kokomo, an NFT studio called Apple X to help artists and brands to understand this new technology, and a photo studio to do some amazing product photography. 2 of these businesses are closed, 1 is running, but without me. This is about me and my life, but now let's get into my lessons. 1, this little voice in my head isn't always right. I've battled with self-doubt all my life. And this little voice in my head loves to tell me that I'm not good enough. But I've learned one thing over the last years. This voice is a fucking liar. It's programmed by my past experience, like being bullied or not fitting in. This year, I decided to see myself like all the others already do, with all the flaws and all the beautiful sides I have. Therapy, coaching, and mentorships have helped me to look in the mirror and loving what I see. 2, pausing doesn't mean you're failing. When the pandemic hit, I needed to pause my first company. It was the first time in my life I had no work and I needed to register at the job center. I felt like a tiger in a cage, not a really good feeling. I tried to do everything to escape this feeling, but to be honest, nothing really worked. In 2023, I did something radical. I stopped to try to find a solution and just to push me into the next solution. I stopped and asked me the really important question: what do I really want in life? And the answer was really clear. I want to empower artists to be themselves. This pause was much needed and a turning point for my life. 3, action creates clarity. I think this is one of the most important lessons I learned. I can be an overthinker and plan and analyze everything into the last detail before I even start. But I learned this: nothing becomes really clear until I take the first steps. When I started working on this new chapter as a coach, I didn't have all the answers. I still don't. But every action I take teaches me something, gives me feedback, and helps me to refine my vision. And this brings me to my 4th lesson. You need to have a vision. Because without a vision, real change and a real transformation will be really hard and you will not be motivated to do the shitty part of the change. Let me tell you a story about myself. In 2019, I had a life that looked like picture perfect. I just founded my first company a year before. I had a degree with top grades. And on my 26th birthday, there was like 125 guests. But to be honest, I felt lonely sad, kind of depressed and had no focus. 3 weeks later, I hit the rock bottom. December 13, I was the worst version of myself. I didn't recognize myself anymore. At the opening of an exhibition I had, I was so drunken that I became the worst version of a male I could ever imagine. 3 days later, I got all the information about what happened at this night, and I was shocked and ashamed of who I was in this night. I decided to change immediately. I quit drugs and I quit alcohol this day and decided to find out what's going on with me. To find out why I'm this sad and this lonely that I take so much alcohol and drugs to overcome this loneliness. And this vision of being a human I can look in the mirror and like and not be ashamed of, this vision was strong enough for me to really change and quit alcohol. This was a so needed lesson for me in life. 5. Real change is messy, but it's easier with help. Like I told you, when I quit alcohol in 2019, at first I thought I need to do it alone. And I did for over 6 months. But after this period, I started to open up and start to talk with friends and sharing my experience and my struggles. And I realized I wasn't as alone as I thought. This was the beginning of a deeper change. I lost part of my old identity. I needed to lose these parts of my old identity. And I also lost some people. But I also gained new habits, new beliefs, and find some mentors who helped me to rebuild. If you're right now in a phase where you have the feeling you need to change something, you struggle right now, maybe you feel sad or kind of depressed, please talk with someone. You don't have to do it all by your own. 6. Grieving is necessary. For the most of my life, I tried to push through sadness and all my negative emotions. I thought when I can just ignore them, they will go away. But they doesn't. They just waited for me to get heavier and messier. And in the end, lead to 2019, where I was the worst version of myself. I've learned over the last years to let myself grieve and let me feel my negative emotions in the moment when they're coming. Maybe it's painful in the moment, but it's also really relieving. I learned emotions are just 7 seconds in our body if we don't try to hold them and grab them and don't let them go. So just 7 seconds, I can deal with that. Especially as a man, it wasn't easy to be open to feel my negative emotions and learn how I can communicate my negative emotions. Because I thought this could be a weakness of me. Let's be honest, this is not a weakness. This is probably one of my strongest traits right now, that I can feel my negative emotions and express them. My 7th lesson is fitting in isn't belonging. For many years of my life, I tried to fit in. I tried to change myself, to be accepted by the cool guys and the cool groups in my school, in my dance community, and everywhere. I wanted to be part of them. But changing me never worked really well. And the funny thing is, my dad always told me when I was younger, just do your own stuff and the people will follow you. Back then, I thought this is a bad joke because I couldn't see it. But as I get older, I need to realize my dad is a wise man and was a wise man. I think this was Rick Rubin is saying. Audience comes last. First is trying to understand what you really want. Belonging doesn't mean fitting in. Belonging means you do whatever you want and you find the people around you who loves you for who you are. And this leads me to number 8. Asking for help is a strength. I'm pretty good in starting a project, to create this creative fire, to really put all this energy into a new project and build this project up. But to be honest, I'm not that good to hold and build a structure over a long period. I learned when I did my first coaching trainings, we worked with a personality test called Deep Ocean. And in this test, there's this aspect of orderliness. I'm not really high in orderliness. So to hold structure, to hold systems, to care for these systems, it's kind of hard for me. This doesn't mean I don't like systems and I don't like structure, but to hold it out of an intrinsic motivation and be really strict with it, it's really, really hard for me. But this was a good realization because my strength is in different parts. And I learned that I don't have to do it all by my own. I don't have to be a perfect human. I can ask for help, for people who hold me accountable and fill the gaps where I struggle. Lesson number 9 is saying no is saying yes to yourself. In relationship, I used to say yes to things that hurt me just to avoid to be a bad guy. There was many times the situation that I dated a girl, and after a while she asked me to be just friends without the benefits. And most of the time I said yes, because I thought this is a nice thing to do. But to be honest, it fucking hurt because I had still feelings for them. And I learned over the last years that saying no in kind of this situation isn't mean, it isn't selfish, it's self-care. Because in this situation, when you say no, you're about to protect your own values and your peace of mind and your heart. So saying no is saying yes to yourself. And last but not least, good things take time. I'm 100% not patient by nature. I like quick results, quick wins, and can't wait to start projects and new ideas. But looking back at the things I'm proudest of, for example, my photography career, it took years to build this. When I first started with photography, like over 10 years ago, I thought I'm a master of photography. But now when I look back at my work back then, I just can laugh. It took years of learning and failing and building network and finding the right people and getting better at my craft to get where I am right now. If you're something like me and you think after 1 week of doing something new, you need to have the biggest results, please take this as a reminder. Good things take time. And this time and this journey is beautiful. Don't rush it just because you want some quick ones. Like I said in the beginning, if there's one thing I learned about life, is that life is messy, life is chaotic, and on the other side, also super beautiful. You don't have to figure it all out today. Maybe just take the next step and trust in yourself that you are on the right path. I say it to you and at the same time to myself, to reflect and remind myself again that I'm on the right path, no matter how big my wins are. If you've made it this far, thank you. This really means the world to me. This is my first YouTube video and I will produce some more. I'm 100% sure I will. And if you want to follow my journey, hit subscribe because I would love to share this journey with you. Otherwise, have a fucking awesome day. Ich hab dich lieb.